Culture Yearbook. On this show, we pick pieces of pop culture that were important to us in a given year. We then discuss our memories and dig into those movies, albums, shows, and more. I'm Brad.
I am Pete.
And I'm Giff.
Yeah.
Giff's really excited tonight because even though this is our collaborative month where we made all our decisions together, this is one he really wanted, and you can just feel it coming off of his screen over there. How excited! So I'm not going to say anything else. I'm turning it over to Giff, unless Pete's going to butt it.
Can I say one thing first? I just want to wish Giff a happy birthday. It is, as of the time that we're recording, it is this coming week, actually, on the 4th of July. So very excited for Giff.
Bicentennial baby, born on the 4th of July, 1976.
Yes, and in my mind, fireworks were invented for me, and all the big party across the country is in honor of me. It's great, yeah. So thank you, gentlemen. That's very kind of you.
Yeah, well, it was just me that mentioned it. Yeah.
Well,
because this is going to come
my
out
idea
a week and a half later, and then it's kind of lame. So
right, yeah. Well, I'm going to start out tonight before we get into our broadcast, our subject matter. Just want to do a few shout outs tonight. I don't know what's going on in the state of Oklahoma, but we are getting some good downloads. I know the Shirley guys are down there in Norman, close to OKC. So, I see some downloads there, but we're also getting quite a few from Jenks and Broken Arrow, which are closer to Tulsa. So thank you to whoever's downloading episodes down there. I hope you're enjoying the stuff that we're putting out, and we love having you listening. So reach out on the socials. Let us know who you are, and thanks for listening. Mm-hmm. Another shout out I wanted to throw out there was to our good buddy Johnny, a friend of the show, and one time he's been on once.
He's been on at least twice.
He's been on a couple times. He's played games with us.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. He did play a game. That's right.
He did do our 1987 overview a couple of years ago. It's an excellent, highly regarded episode.
Yeah.
Because everybody loves Johnny.
That's right.
We love him. We tailgate with him at Gopher games a few times a year. So very, very excited about what you're about to say.
If you've ever enjoyed the hashtags that sometimes follow our episodes on X, he is the author of those. He's the king of the hashtags. Recently, Johnny got some good news. He got rid of, as he likes to call it, his little buddy, which is a good thing. Unfortunately, that means he is able to wear pants again and cover up a pair of the best gams that I've ever seen. So, a little loss for the public out there, but I'm sure he'll be flashing those legs again soon. So, Johnny, thanks for listening. Thanks for your participation. And we love you, bud. So, we are going to get into an excellent album tonight from 1987, and that is George Michael's debut album, Of Faith. So we talked about this on our selection show. Brad owned this CD, and then he passed it along to me for a price, of course. Good financial decision on his point.
In exchange for song number 3, right?
Yeah. Yes.
But I said when I handed it to him.
Song number 3, 4, and 11, evidently. So yeah, it's a lot of good stuff there. And he believes that things are best one-on-one as well, from what I understand. So we'll just kind of get into it a little bit here. Guys, what do you remember about this album? Just the songs, where you were when you're listening. Just let's get into it a little bit.
Let me go first, because I think Brad's going to, obviously, he owned the album, as you said. I didn't really own it. This is actually my first time listening to this album, like all the way through. I never actually owned it or anything like that. And obviously, I heard some of the big hits. So I don't have any memories of the album itself, but obviously a couple of the big songs that we're going to talk about. I thought that this album probably defines 1987 or the late 80s, or as much as any album. And we'll get into why as we get into each of the songs. But I thought that, it's kind of poppy. It's very poppy. But there's also some other kinds of music kind of mixed in to some of the songs, which jumped out at me as I listened to the album. There was actually a couple of songs, very much some kind of funkadelic kind of music. A couple of songs reminded me actually of Prince as I listened to it. I was thinking I would love to hear Prince do this song, but it was kind of a good mix. But we actually did see a documentary. There's a Netflix, I think, documentary about Wham. That was on maybe a year or two ago. It's really good. I recommend you check it out. And so, a lot of fun. Yeah. Go ahead, Brad.
Okay. Well, speaking of Wham, first I had the Wham tape, the cassette back in the mid 80s when I was 9 and 10-year-old or so. And it's not one I'd probably want to listen to now, but I do remember I loved it, listened to it a lot back then. I got this one on CD, which would have been after it came out because we've talked about there. I got the CD player like in 1990, so. But this is one of those first CDs I bought because I had listened to the songs so many times, and it was one of those big, huge albums that, like, I mean, it was still kind of lingering probably in 1990 at that point because there were so many singles. We'll get to the specific songs, but the one song that I have the biggest memories of is "One More Try." Very specific nostalgic memories of that one. I'll go into more detail when we get to the song, but I can't listen to that song without thinking of certain things. You brought up Prince, and this is one of those albums. So we did the Joshua Tree, we did Hysteria, we did Sports, we did Janet Jackson. There were all these movies that came out, or not movies, albums that came out in the 80s. It had, like 5 or 6 or 7 huge singles on them. And this is another one of those. This is another one of those Thriller albums. And he played a lot of the instruments, and it truly was him, like, moving himself away from Wham and being the solo artist. Yeah, he's very talented. And then it covered so many musical styles. I mean, yeah, it's pop, but there's R&B, there's funk, there's soul, there's all kinds of stuff. And so when you really, dig in and realize what's going on, it's probably more impressive than what you might just remember with the big hits. But it's an album that I kind of like. So I sold it to GIF in high school at some point.
Yes, you did.
I was constantly I was constantly selling CDs and then buying new ones and trying to like make a deal out of it. I kind of forgot how good it was. And so you already brought up Oklahoma, and I actually got a text today from Jason from Surely Can't Be Serious, thanking us for the shout out I gave for the selection show episode we did. Now, and I wrote back, I said, I feel like I bring you guys up every week, and here we go again. So I kind of rediscovered this album about a year ago when I really got into their show, and I listened to their 2-part on this and INXS Kick, which I wanted to listen to the Kick part no matter what because I love that album. And as I listened to their episode on this, I'm like, wow, that is really good. Like, there are so many songs on there that I kind of forgot about. So thanks to them, I was excited to go back to it. And now I'm excited tonight to dig into it even deeper. So it was a good choice, and I was excited that it worked out that way.
Before we dive into the album, I want to give a little preface because you guys are going to be like, "Oh, you're an idiot because that's not a sneaky song." I do have a sneaky favorite.
You're an idiot.
Now, I don't. You say that anyway. Yeah, I know Gifford's agreeing. My thing is that it had like 6 or 7 big hits on this album, yes. Right? That's what you're saying. I'm not sure if the one that I picked as my sneaky favorite is one of those hits. So don't be all. I know like the 2 or 3 biggest ones.
Sure. Well, if it's not one of the first 4 songs, I mean,
it is one of the first 4 songs that I didn't remember.
Fine.
So for me, it's a sneaky favorite. So shut up,
Pete. I've done that before.
Well, thanks for the warning.
I've done that before too on albums, like especially on artists that I'm not as familiar with. Like I'll take a sneaky favorite, even though it was released as a single. It might be one of the the lesser known singles, but
I can make a prediction. I feel like his sneaky favorite has to be One More Try because I don't know how you could remember the other 3 as being just ginormous hits.
Yeah.
But I guess we'll find out. Something to look forward to.
And for me, I've talked many times on here that, I come to music through the radio. So an album like this that has 9 releases, I'm sorry, not 9 releases, 9 songs in the original album, 7 of which are singles. So I would have heard the vast majority of this album on the radio before I purchased it from Brad, like he said, probably 4 years later, and I still just wanted to have
more than 4 years later.
You think so?
I had it for a couple of years at least.
Okay. So, I mean, I just love the songs on it. I love the videos that were on it. And George Michael just comes out in this debut and just puts himself out there. And like Brad said, I mean, he played so many of the instruments on this. He's credited with keyboards, bass guitar, keyboard, bass, drums, different percussion things on the album itself. So even though I didn't know that at the time, I just loved the music that he was putting out. There's some risque elements to this album and the songs, which, a guy coming through puberty, it's kind of fun and dangerous, and so that's part of the reason I liked it,
My puberty years were not fun and dangerous, I'll tell you that.
I'm not saying mine weren't either. I'm just saying you kind of try to live vicariously a little bit through the different things that you're seeing on television or hearing on the radio. And this was the guy that was putting some fun stuff out there. So I just loved it. We can get into, you guys got some stats here. I was going to get into a few things. So that's
for you.
This album here, 12 weeks at number 1, spent 51 weeks non-consecutive, but 51 weeks in the top 10. It has 4 number 1 hits we'll get into. We got Faith, Father Figure, One More Try, and Monkey. 25 million copies sold worldwide. Won Grammy for Album of the Year. And we also, one of the stranger things I found on here was this is the first white solo artist to have a number 1 album on Billboard Top Black Albums.
That's what he's very proud of too, because it showed like his range and like what he was trying to do. Because and you brought up Prince. There was a quote in something that I read where, he was in Wham and everything, but he's watching Prince, Madonna, and these giant artists, and he's like, well, I think I can do that. I want to do that, and he came out and he did it with his first album. Like, he proved it.
Yeah, it was
such this wide range, and that whole thing. And there was a little controversy about him being on the black charts because he's white, but it's the style of music, and he was very proud of that part.
Yeah, good music is good music, So he definitely brought in a large audience for this, and that's why it is the top selling album for 87, and it's just a seminal album for, like Pete said, the late 80s. You guys got anything extra as far as fun little facts on the album before we dive in?
I do not. I figured you'd have those and we'd get into the songs.
All right.
Well, cannonball in.
Let's get right to it. So we have got, we're going to cover 11 songs tonight, even though, like I say, there was only 9 that were on the original album.
So when you say 11, like, I don't have the CD anymore. It lists parts 1 and 2 as 2 different songs.
No, it lists that as one song.
Well, then am I missing one? Because I have 10.
I got 10 as well.
The 2 at the back are like a remix and then a part 3. So that's
must be the remix that was not. We can skip that one then.
There's also another deluxe album that had like 20 songs on it that I saw, but I'm not going all that trouble.
The way through. Sure.
Does it have parts 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 of I Want Your Sex on it?
That's what it is. Salt.
Pretty close. So let's start off with the first song. Just a banger to start. So, title track, Faith. This was actually the second single that was released. And that was October 12th of 87, but just a great start to an album. You got the low organ music coming in, kind of with the,
that's a Wham song. That's the song Freedom by Wham that's playing at the beginning, showing like his transition from then to now. So, and I love that opening. It sounds so cool.
It is, for sure. And then, you've got that guitar that just comes in with the quick notes, almost staccato, but, just absolutely awesome. I'm a sucker for some clapping in a song. We got that in here. just a real simple video, him next to the jukebox, dancing with his guitar in his leather jacket. So just, I think just a wonderful way to start it. And of course, since this was the second single released, it was the first #1 hit from the album.
So this is it. This is my sneaky favorite. No, I'm kidding.
Maybe you forgot about it. I don't know.
It's not going to be this one. But the intro organ music, this is one element. It's not the main thing that I'm talking about that reminded me of Prince, but this reminded me of the dearly beloved thing in Prince, or for Prince, because that's what it kind of felt like as it started in, and it hits you kind of the same way. It gets you with that beginning organ, and then that 80s beat that, like I was saying earlier, defines the era as much as anything. Obviously, this is an iconic song. They do actually, partway through the song, they hit you with a little bit of twang, and it almost sounds a little bit like country because of the later on in the song. Obviously, it's not, but you get what I'm saying if you hear it. Obviously, it's what I'm sorry.
My fourth note is it has a country sound, especially in the bridge. That's where there's a twangy guitar there.
Wow. Even reference the bridge and everything. Wow.
Well, that's where it really
got my music
is
terminology down.
Yeah. Baby. That's right. So we already talked about the intro. I love the lyrics in the song, but I love the video. The video is just, and that relates to one of my memories of this album, because it's so much about his butt. And so we talked about SNL a couple months ago, and Dana Carvey played him on a Weekend Update once where Dennis Miller was talking to him, and he would just get up and turn around and say, "Look at my butt, look at my butt, down to my butt." And he just did a great George Michael, and it was all about his ass. But I can just, even with, you hear the song, I can just picture the guitar hanging there, the toe tapping, the hips swaying, just because you get these close-ups to the different parts of the body too. And the lyrics, I just love the start and the opening line. I guess it would be nice if I could touch your body. Not everybody has got a body like you. I mean, what a great first line.
Yeah.
And then the baby part, I just love that too, like I already said. So it's a fantastic song. They don't get much better than this song, and it has a great video to go with it. So it's the essence of George Michael in 1987, at least.
There's actually, in the first 3 or 4 songs on this album, obviously with this song being called Faith, but in about the first 3 or 4, there's a number of like religious references that he sort of ties in. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's not just that
too.
Right. And so that's one thing that stood out to me as I was listening to it.
Well, and the other thing I like is it's such a timeless look. It's blue jeans, white T-shirt, leather jacket, it's just, and his hair, that hairstyle, it's never going out of style. Like, it's just timeless.
Well, and he's wearing the big earring that's a cross too.
Yep.
Like religious symbols.
So of course,
leather jacket I read somewhere was, it's so iconic, but like they burned it at one, like I think he burned it live or something to like, I don't know if it was when Listen Without Prejudice came out in like 1990. Like he was putting this era behind. Sounds like you read that too, Gif.
Well, that is from the Freedom 90 video. You've got the 3 iconic things from this Faith video. You've got the jukebox, you've got the jacket, and you've got the guitar. And they burn the jacket in the video, and the guitar and the jukebox are blown up. And that's the same thing. He was trying to get rid of that.
Jacket's in the video?
Yeah, and it starts on. It's hanging in the closet. It starts on fire.
Okay.
So the 3 iconic things from that, and that, like you say, that was him moving on to the next stage in his career. So.
All right. And it's speaking of great videos, that's a new great video there, Freedom 90.
Oh, for sure. I had to watch it again while listening to this album because it's just so awesome. So yeah. Well, are we good on 1? We want to move on to 2?
Let's move on to 2.
All right. So we've got our second song on the album, Father Figure. This is the 4th single. and it also reached #1 in the charts. What say you guys about the song itself?
I will give it away. I'll give it away, and I don't recall this song. You say it was a big banger and everything, but I don't remember it like some of the other ones. So this is what I had noted as the quote unquote sneaky favorite, because for me this was I did think this song was a great song as I listened to it.
It's lovely.
Yeah,
I love just the verses are so breathy. And then the chorus just crushes. That's what I love. The contrast. It's so smooth, and like he's just breathing those words out. And then the chorus comes in, and he's like, it's harder, and it's awesome. That's what I noticed about it. When you look at the lyrics, there's a lot of talk about like what's it really about. So of course, George Michael was going through a lot of confusion.
Mm-hmm.
I always figured, by this age here, he knew he was gay and just wasn't out. But it sounds like he was still really kind of like not like 100% like out there.
Mm-hmm.
And so when he talks about the crime in this song, like, is it gay love? Is it like being, like that's not acceptable? Is that not okay? And I don't know if that was part of that confusion. But also this song is apparently written towards Princess Diana in some way too. So I thought that was really interesting. I wasn't quite sure like how it fits, but it was him himself, I think, that I read said that he like kind of wrote at least parts of it too.
Sure.
It's such a soothing song. Like this is such a great song to just like relax to. It's great.
Yes, that's what I had too.
Yeah,
Slow and smooth.
Yeah, I've got sultry. Great female background vocals in this. This is, where you get a little bit more into some female imagery. We've got Tanya Coolidge is the object of his obsession in this. She was a model at the time. Again, like Brad said, I like the echoey lyrics in this. The vocals, I should say. Some of the lyrics I love. Heaven is a kiss and a smile. That's a great line. And then I love the line, I'll be your daddy. So to me, he's looking for a girl with some daddy issues in this song a little bit. This is also, I think, where we see the first instance of different people being referred to as a lover. So in this one, we've got I'll be your daddy. It's kind of a little creepy with the lyrics, I think, unless I'm missing something.
There's multiple ways to take the lyrics. I thought there's multiple ways that you could interpret this song is one thing that I had written down. So
sure.
If you could take it more innocently, or you could take it more creepily, for sure.
I think it's great. I love the song. I didn't have it as my
Princess Diana. That's a whole nother layer. Like, what does he really mean?
Right. And like Brad said, he came out as gay in '98. So during 97, we'll get into this in the next song. There was some confusion there, I think, still, or maybe just the fact that, hey, gay men and artists weren't being accepted, and he was worried about, being able to be commercially successful if he comes out.
Career.
I mean, this is a whole different era.
These songs could be about men, but the videos have women because that's what's going to sell and everything. But that doesn't mean that that's exactly what he was writing about either. So
right, exactly. Right. All right, so we'll get into song number 3.
What's the hidden meaning of this song? I wonder.
Part
we
A.
can dive into it.
Okay, it kind of is because the song was so controversial, and it was a time, AIDS in the 80s, and a lot of people thought it had a terrible message, but it's actually the opposite. The hidden meaning is he's not talking about casual sex. And it's right in the song, one-on-one. He's talking about monogamy. If you watch the video, it's written out in words on there. So I think when you say that, Pete, it's funny, but it also is how it's misinterpreted.
I thought maybe it was about heroin.
Yeah, no kidding, Pete. So the funny thing is he's talking about monogamy, and this video features his then girlfriend, Kathy John. Yet at the same time, he was in love with a guy. So, I mean, he's preaching monogamy, but maybe not practicing as much. But so, of course, we're talking about I Want Your Sex. This was the first single released off the album, reached all the way up to number 2. It's very techno. You got the electric drums in it. But again, like Brad said, they're he's talking about monogamy and just one person for each person, and not spreading it around as much. And this song also had a line in it, like Pete said, his puberty years weren't wild and crazy. The line that spoke to me: sometimes you think you're gonna get it, but you don't, and that's just the way it goes. So I could relate. I could relate to that quite easily.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So this is where again, there's a couple of religious connotations too. He's saying, "I don't need your Bible," and he mentions that I think a few times during the song. And this is one that I would absolutely love to hear Prince do, because it sounds exactly like a Prince song, and not just the singing, but also this is where you have some funk, and it just seems like his style. There's even there's not trombones, but I did write down there are some good trumpets in this one. So that's the best I could do.
Sure. Brad, what did you have?
Well, so he didn't sing it anymore after 1989, and he called the song "Bad Prince." Like, he said it sounded like Prince, but Bad Prince. I totally disagree. I think this song is an absolute banger, and it holds up. When I heard it, because you think about it as being kind of this novelty song or whatever, but it's great. It's so good to listen to. And I was 11 years old when the song came out, and I totally remember the song coming out and the video being on, and it felt so weird to see this and like, can they put this on TV? And it just seems so dirty. And as an 11-year-old, I was so intrigued, and I loved it, but I didn't really know what to think. But so that was my first experience there. It is, even though it's about monogamy, it is very demanding. It's like, but I think that's what makes it fun to sing along to, though, because the way it's delivered, like it's like a sing along. It's awesome. And I did have a question: if this was the inspiration for Al Pacino in Scent of a Woman.
Yes. Yep. That's good. One of the lines.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say one of the lines, a couple lines that I love from this song. What's your definition of dirty, baby? What do you consider pornography? I love that line. And then what I like to think of as maybe a Norgard line. I'm not your father. I'm not your brother.
Sex.
I'll do your sister.
Talk to your sister.
Oh, is that what he says? I always thought it was I'll do your sister.
No.
Maybe it is.
Talk to your sister.
Oh, Hawk Tua. That's
Hawk Tua.
That's topical these days. All right, well, shoot, I thought it was different. I should have looked at the actual lyrics.
So between every one of those lines is the hooah, sex. And then it ends with him going, woo, and it's just awesome.
Yeah.
And then after that, it ends with the come on.
Right.
When he said, "I'm not your father," I kind of for a moment thought it might be a follow-up to the previous song, Father Figure.
Yep.
I'm not sure that it was, but it was something I had written down.
I also wrote my favorite line, besides that whole that you already brought up there, Gifford. Sex is natural, sex is good. Not everybody does it, but everybody should. Sex is natural, sex is fun. Sex is
best when it's one on one.
I mean, the lyrics are so easy to follow and sing and listen. It's such
even when you're 11. Yes.
But yeah, you think it's dirty then, and then I think it's still listening to this song. It was like kind of fun because I didn't remember liking it that much, and I just thought this is not bad Prince at all. This is an awesome song.
Prince. Yeah. So this leads us right into the second half of this song, which wasn't played on the radio, but it leads right into I Want Your Sex Part 2. So to me, this is
horny.
This is a young man's album because he wants your sex right away again. So that's a pretty quick repeat. I thought this was great. I love, like I said, I was a sucker for clapping. I'm a sucker for the horn section.
That's why I called it horny, because it's all horns now.
the brass comes in on this. To me, it sounds like the Las Vegas lounge version of I Want Your Sex. You know,
You can see that.
and you got some piano in there, and it's a little more laid back. It's not, quite so hard hitting as the first one.
I wrote that it's kind of fun, but it just seems kind of unnecessary to at 9 minutes. I don't know. But it's kind of fun, and it does have a different enough sound with the horns that at least it's, it gives it a different style than what we just heard too.
Right. Brad's never wanted anybody's sex for 9 minutes. So that's maybe why. So I don't know. Pete, you got anything extra on the second portion of this song?
I think we have covered it. No, I've got nothing left to say.
I really enjoy it. I think it's quite good. Just because it's a different, take on it. But yeah, it's a fun part. Now we're gonna get into the fourth song on this album. This is One More Try. This is the fifth single released. This one also reached number 1 in the charts. Kind of a somber love song. Brad says he has a memory of this song that's specific to me. This is all about middle school hip grabbing. Like you're at the middle school dance and, this song comes on and you find that special someone and, hands on hips, make sure you leave some room for Jesus. But that's what this song reminds me of. So, Pete, what do you got? What do you got on One More Try?
Again with the organ intro on this, we start off again, like you said, it's a little bit more somber, more ballady, and the music itself is a bit more echoey, as some notes that I had. I think in this song he actually shows his vocal talent as much as or more than he did in the other ones that we've heard so far. The song itself is about, it sounds like he's at a crossroads in his relationship. It's interesting when you really look at the lyrics, because it sounds like he's losing his first true love, and he's begging her to let him go. But then of course he cannot just do it himself. He really sounds like he should just separate off, but he's waiting for her to do it. They don't belong together, and so that's what kind of makes it a sad, kind of a sad ballad. I don't think it really had a true chorus like some of the other ones did. It was it would be more like a good background kind of song. It'd be more difficult to like sing along to, but it was it's really well done. It's a good song.
It is a great song. It's a lovely, beautiful song. You're right, and his vocals are great. I noticed the church organ again too, Pete. I got that down. For me though. And I feel like I minimize it because I know how good of a song it is, but all I can think about is my middle school girlfriend and all the times we broke up. And this was our song. Well, I mean, first our song was "Angel" by Aerosmith.
I was gonna say it was Aerosmith. Come on.
This was another one though, and this was one after we had broken up, and and it was just the drama. And this song, it just drips with nostalgia for me because all I can think about is her and how we broke up and sitting on the phone calls we had and crying, and then the dance. So if I can remove that memory, the song is even better. It doesn't mean it's bad, but it's like, it just, to me, it makes it seem so like juvenile, even though I love the song and it's much better than that. But that's all I can think about every time I hear it. It's like tattooed in my brain.
Well,
so
that's good though. I mean, it reminds you of that time in your life, and it wasn't all bad, of course. But yeah,
I just and I still love the song, but I feel like I don't give it as much credit as I should. Sure. I feel like I don't even know how to describe it, but whatever.
Sure. Well, and
the entire song is sad. Oh, sorry. I was just going to say a last note that I had on this one is that it's a really sad song all around, and there's no reason they belong together. But then at the very end, he ends it on a hopeful note by saying, well, maybe just one more try. It's like, are you sure, bud?
Right.
You sure you want to put yourself through this? Because it sounds like she really hurt you by being in that relationship. But
sure. Well, in this song, the lover equals teacher. Another name for your lover in here. So instead of father figure, we've got the teacher as being referred to as the lover.
Learning
but
lessons,
again,
that's for sure.
The vocals in this are absolutely great. Pete nailed it. Where this is where he really comes out to shine. I think for the first time on this album, you're really leaning on his vocals to make the song great, and he pulls it off greatly. So we're gonna move on to number 5. Once again, another single in Hard Day. This was the 3rd single off of the album. It did reach number 5 on the US Dance Club songs, so not necessarily a Hot 100. This one really isn't my fave. Kind of weird vocals, more techno music. And then you've got, so Pete, this is where Prince kind of comes in for me. The end of the song, he's singing to a woman, but really that is just his voice that he changed to make it sound like a woman, and that's something I believe that Prince did on a particular song. Yeah,
I didn't know that, and I just listened to the song. I thought it was some other woman, and I was going to ask who that was, because it's to me it sounded clearly like a woman's voice on it, and it was I loved that voice even better. That made the song a lot better.
So that is in the same vein as Prince's imaginary alter ego Camille. So Prince would do that to change his voice for stuff. So that's when you brought up Prince right away. I was like, ooh, I got a little something on Prince for one of these songs coming up. Brad, do you have what you say about Hard Day?
It's kind of catchy. I can see why it was a single, but to me, it's the most forgettable single easily. Like, I don't remember ever hearing it on the radio. Like, if you told me it wasn't a single, I wouldn't remember it. My only real note is it seems like the tame version of I Want Your Sex. Especially like he says, couldn't we just make love instead? Say yes because it's what we do best. And I've had such a hard day. It just, a lot of the lyrics reminded me of that, only in the tame, less demanding way.
Sure.
It's kind of catchy.
Yeah, it's all right.
Easily my least favorite single, I would probably say, of all 7, which there are so many. So
right. So speaking of singles, this is song number 6. Hand to Mouth is the first song that was not a single on this album. So the first 5 were. This one here, I was trying to nail it down. I listened to the beginning of the song quite a few times. The drum beat reminds me of another song. I don't know if you guys found anything on this or if it reminded you of something. I'm sorry, I could not nail it down. But, kind of depressing lyrics, one of them, and From Day to Hopeless Day. I could see why this one wasn't a single. Again, not one of my favorite songs on here. I don't know where you guys land.
Well, I looked at this one as, so we did Hysteria, and there was the song Gods of War, which was like Joe Elliott's social commentary song out of nowhere. And then Huey Lewis had Walking on a Thin Line, which was kind of that with the Vietnam stuff. And then, of course, we did Rhythm Nation, which was full of that in a good way. I felt like all these 80s albums had to have their social commentary song, and that's what this is. Right. This is George Michael's song for that. So the first time I listened to it, I listened to the album a few times. The first time I listened to it, I just kind of rolled my eyes and wanted to move on. But then I listened to it again yesterday, and I kind of liked it. It's a good song. It's kind of a nice palate cleanser after all of these singles. It's not one I'm going to like. It's not memorable to me. But as just a little break in the album, like I didn't mind it. So
this one, the imagery that popped in my head was Jeremy by Pearl Jam. I thought because they're talking about this guy named Jimmy that polishes his gun and blows everybody away, right? And that's just the image. I was thinking of the Pearl Jam or the Jeremy video by Pearl Jam. It seemed a little ahead of its time in terms of its political messages and kissing the powers that be, the gods believe in nothing, and the guitar riff here reminded me of Santana in a little deeper in the song in the bridge here. Okay. If you listen to the guitar solo, just a touch of it, That's what just jumped in my head too. I enjoyed the song. I thought it was a good song overall. It's not the best song on the album, but certainly it's middle of the road as far as the album goes.
Sure. All right. Well, we will move on to track number 7, the other non-single on this album. Look at Your Hands. Kind of douchey lyrics in this. One of them, of course, you've got 2 fat children and a drunken man, and I bet you don't like your life now. So it's basically he's singing to this woman who could have had him, chose a different guy, and look how crappy everything is in your life. The thing I did really like about it, it's got kind of this funky backbeat rhythm to it. So musically, I liked this track.
Which to me sounded exactly like Black Cat. If you listen to it, it sounds just like Black Cat to me. That bass line, and you're right. It's almost like he's daring you, like I dare you to come back to me. Right? It's like can if you want to, but I think that you're stuck in your situation, and that's sort of his play here. Like you said, he's taking pride in it that she has it so shitty. Because, like you said, she's with an abusive, I don't know, husband or man, and she's got 2 fat children, and he's taking pride in it.
Yep.
I just said there's a very dated 80s sound and lyrics. The horns are very 80s. This is my least favorite song by far. And the placement in the album too makes me just want to move on. Like after the palate cleanser we had, like I want to get into something good again. So for me, this is the skip. Let's go. Next song.
Well, we're going to skip ahead to Monkey, which was the 6th single off of this album, reached number 1.
I'm surprised at that. Like, I remember the song, but to be a number 1 song, I was surprised.
I tend to agree with you on that. Of all the songs in this world that haven't reached number 1, for this one to do so is a bit astonishing. A little bit. Of course, this is Pete's song.
Heroin.
Why do you say that?
Where you can equate the metaphor of the monkey to an addiction of some sort, which is generally your, a drug of choice. So,
is that what I actually I missed that. I missed that analogy. I thought it was about like just a guy or an ex-lover that she was that.
That's what I thought too.
Like that's the monkey on your back.
Well, and that can be your addiction too.
But it works for both. But I also read the same thing that he did say it is about a friend who was addicted. But
okay,
it can, if you're listening to the song, the lyrics can apply to you in different ways. And I also thought the same thing, Pete. So,
well, you can be obsessed with a person. That could be your addiction. There's, it doesn't have to be a substance.
This to me was my least favorite song on the album.
Really?
I just didn't think it jumped out at me like some of the other ones did. Maybe if I listened to it again, it just again, like you said, Brad, on a previous song, it might have been a placement on the album, but yeah, it just didn't stick with me.
I don't not like it, and it's a really good dance song if you like to dance, which I really don't. So, but what I started to notice in this song is that the songs are long, and this song probably is easily the most repetitive.
Yes.
And lengthier than necessary. So
yes,
I like
that's what I didn't like about it.
And then I get sick of it. Like, okay, it's we got it. We got the monkey. Okay. So it's kind of a love-hate then in that case.
Sure. And I just had, fun little dance ditty. If you watch the video, he's got kind of an Amish look going. I think he's got like a white t-shirt, suspenders, and like a flat brimmed hat. Thought it was kind of an interesting
I did not see that
choice on the video attire. So now we get on to number 9 track here. Yes. Kissin' a Fool. This is the last single off the album. It did reach number 5 on the Hot 100. This, I know it's a single, Pete. This is why I agree with you. This is my sneaky favorite on the album.
Love this song.
Yeah, so I loved it.
For me, like, Faith is probably my 1, and this is my 1A. Like, it's not number 2. It's right there with Faith. I love this song. It's like an old jazz lounge singer song. I love the piano. I love the bass. I love the brushes on the drums. You've got just the faint guitar coming in along with the horns. The vocals are absolutely beautiful. When I had a halfway decent singing voice, this was the song that I loved to play and sing along to. I think he's just phenomenal in this.
Yeah, this is a song that I kind of forgot about, even though it was a single. Like, I don't remember it being like number 5. I don't remember really hearing it much, but I do recognize it when I hear it. But so this is one of those great songs to like rediscover now, and I loved it. He brings jazz in now. It's this easy listening jazzy song. Shortly after this album came out, I was way into Harry Connick with the When Harry Met Sally soundtrack, and then of course his Christmas album too. I also love Michael Bublé, so it sounds like a Harry Connick, Michael Bublé type song, and I wrote this is a great way to close an album.
Yeah,
even though it's not.
Right.
Like I'm saying, this should have been the end of the album with just a fantastic.
Just be done with it. Yep.
I think it's freaking crazy because I had Harry Connick as well on this one. It sounds the piano intro. I said it sounded like a mix between, it could be Billy Joel or Harry Connick is what I said, with that sort of great lead in the piano intro. Probably the best true love song on the album. It's a breakup song, but at the same time, it's not sad. It's about moving on. And it's sort of like the message. The message of this song is like, if you love them, set them free, and if it's meant to be, they'll come back. That sort of message is what I took away from it. But it is a beautiful song. I had this one as my second sneaky favorite in my notes. For some reason, I wrote this down. It's absolutely not, of course, but it feels like it could be a Christmas song. It had that sort of vibe to it as I listened to it. It's like, well, this sounds like it could be.
Christmas songs have that easy listening. Yeah, that's a lot of the best albums are like by Harry Connick and artists like that.
Yeah, it just felt like one of those songs that you would hear on one of those Christmas stations. But even though it has nothing to do with Christmas, I'm not even sure what I meant by that. But that's what I had down.
Like, this is the part I love about doing this hobby. Is like, I remember the album but totally forgot the song, and to rediscover it was great. And if you're listening to this right now and you forgot about this song, go listen to it, and hopefully you'll like it as much as we did.
Well, and what I like about it too is that there's no chorus to it. It's just kind of almost like a stream of consciousness just going through. There's repeating parts to it, but it just keeps running through the whole song. And it's absolutely beautiful. And yeah, so like Brad said, the album should have stopped right here. But of course, I've got the CD, and we've got.
I will add, if I can, the original album did stop there. These last two songs, the one you're going to talk about maybe, but this part 3 were extras, bonus songs on the CD and cassette version. So they are kind of like hidden tracks, bonus tracks. But if you have the CD, it's on there. So
I'm just going to quick mention. So number 10 was Hard Day Remix by Shep Pettibone. 6 minutes and 30 seconds. I just wrote skip. Like there's no point.
That one. That was not on the Apple iTunes unless it's. I mean, you got to get a different version. Like on the main version, that song's not even on it. It goes to this next one instead.
And then we'll get into number 11. This is Last Request, parentheses, I Want Your Sex, part 3. Now it's time to go to bed. You've already, wanted her sex twice already. Now it's time for bed. It has a little.
Now you're a little spent.
Now you're a little spent, right? And it's kind of the message of it is get her drunk so she can't drive home, and get her into bed for some whoopee. It's the most laid back version. He really doesn't have a whole lot of energy left in him.
Should be a last request question mark.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
Do I really want to do this?
Do you got anything left in you at this point? Again, young man's album. For us 40, late 40s guys, we're not having that happen. So,
I
Not
wrote,
sure. Yeah,
is it
not
really
sure if this would
necessary?
age real well. It's like
Yeah.
he says, I'm a gentleman. But now it's a little Bill Cosby. But
Yeah, a little bit.
Didn't even pay attention to the lyrics. I just listened to the sound, and I said, "Is it really necessary after that great Kissing a Fool?" But it is different enough from the first two parts, and it actually has a similar feel to Kissing a Fool. So I wrote, I don't hate it. I don't think it's necessary, but as a bonus track, it's fine.
Sure.
Like whatever. I don't.
Sure.
I didn't hate it. If it was a lot like the original song, then I think it'd be really dumb. But it is its own thing, at least.
For sure. And it's kind of interesting. So we have, 11 kind of songs on here, and 3 of the 11, so over a quarter of them, refer to "I Want Your Sex," which is, that's kind of strange, I think, but still, great album. I absolutely
For a
love it.
song that he doesn't play after 2 years later, he quit singing.
Right.
So,
Right.
That's a lot of
a lot of work. Yeah.
No, a lot of something put into this one thing that really didn't have a long life.
Staying power for him anyway. Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I love this album. I think it's awesome. There's basically, in my opinion, about, 2 songs that I could do without, but most of the singles are awesome. Faith is amazing. Father Figure, amazing. One More Try, amazing. Kissing a Fool, amazing. 3 renditions of "I Want Your Sex." Hey, whatever works. I'll take those as well. And Monkey, we'll just throw that in there just for fun. So I think this album is an absolute banger, and I'm glad we were able to bring it up and talk about it tonight.
You got that right.
Yeah. Anything else
Well
on
done.
this album?
I had a lot of fun listening to it. That's for damn sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, we are going to get into our top 5 this evening, and for this, in honor of George Michael and his debut solo album after leaving Wham, we are going to talk about solo artists, the best solo artists after leaving a group or that were part of a group. They may go back to their group and then go back to solo, but that's what we're going to get into tonight. So in a
by the way, when I got into this, I thought this was a fun choice category that you picked. Well done.
Thank you, Pete. So in a ceremony that we held before that we got on the air, I believe Pete ended up with the second pick, and
that's right.
Brad has the third. So I'm going to kick it off since I'm kind of leading this one here tonight. There's a lot of great choices. I'm going to stick with the king of pop himself. I'm going with Michael Jackson. Of course, he came from the Jackson 5.
He was on my list.
Right.
Me too.
Brad gets credit too.
There's a few really great options here. I'm going to go with Phil Collins.
Right.
From Genesis.
Yes.
And that's a good example of one who was kind of in and out of the group. Like he had solo stuff kind of almost continuing on at the same time at times. And I can't even really get the timeline down.
Yeah.
Mine would fit that too, because this group, this is a guy that I was absolutely in love with in the late 80s, early 90s. And his group broke up, and then he went on to this fabulous solo career, and they said they wouldn't get back together till hell freezes over. And then they did, and it's Don Henley.
Yep.
Yeah, that was my next one.
Great pick.
Couple of his CDs and loved them.
There's so many good ones. I just want to have them all. Good Lord. Well, I'm going to take this one because I think the solo career, and maybe it's because of my age and I don't remember the group as well, but I'm going to go Tina Turner. Came from Ike and Tina. I think she well eclipsed that marriage, unfortunate as it was, to just come out and kill it. So I'm taking Tina.
All right, you do that. I'm just going to take the biggest band ever, and I'm going to take Paul McCartney from the Beatles and Wings.
Sure.
Yeah, 2 bands.
See, and I tended to leave Paul off of my list because I was grading this on if the solo artist could be arguably bigger than the group. And as Pete said, from the biggest band ever, the Beatles.
Yeah.
You don't think Michael Jackson was bigger than the group?
That's what
I
I'm
get
saying.
No, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Jesus.
Yep.
Wow.
I
Brad.
Personally, I would have, and somebody can still take him. I would put John Lennon ahead of Paul McCartney, but
And
That's
he
your pick. You can
and they-
pick him.
he's not my
Ab-
pick.
He's eligible, though.
They absolutely need to be mentioned here for sure. I mean, holy crap, great careers after the Beatles.
All right, I'm gonna go with another guy.
But eligibility, you can take somebody else from the same band. That's a good question.
Oh, for sure. Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
I'm gonna go with another guy that I totally started to fall in love with in the early '90s. He was in a band, and they had one of the greatest songs of the '60s, For What It's Worth, Buffalo Springfield. And then he went on to make all these great albums. So I was really kind of introduced to him in Harvest Moon in '92. But I went back and got Harvest, and I multiple albums of Neil Young. I don't listen to him a lot anymore, but I went through a huge Neil Young phase, and not just his solo stuff, but like that particular song is like one of my all-time favorite songs from Buffalo Springfield. So he checks a lot of boxes.
He certainly does.
That's a great one.
All right.
Yeah, and he played with Pearl Jam in the '90s when we were in Pearl. I mean, so he came huge then, rocking in the free world.
Yep. Yeah. I've just never been a Neil Young guy. His voice tends to.
Oh, I didn't
grate
think you
on
probably
me.
were.
Yeah. But the great pick for this category for sure. All right. I think I'm going to go JT. I'm going to go Justin Timberlake coming out of NSYNC.
In the news very recently.
Yes. I'm sorry. NClink. That's what I meant to say.
So you're not picking your personal favorites, it seems here, then, huh?
Oh, no, I wouldn't say that. Justin Timberlake? Are you kidding me?
Well, I would assume you would pick George Michael ahead of Justin Timberlake.
I'm bringing Sexy back. I'm bringing Sexy back with that third pick.
You have the right to pick whoever you want, Gifford.
You do. I'm asking what his strategy is all I'm.
There's no strategy. I'm picking who I think has. I mean, George Michael, great, and I still have him on my list here. But I think JT is. I mean, I don't think George Michael did a Super Bowl halftime. I think he's been a bigger success from his group.
I am making a pick. I wasn't sure 100% if this counts as a band, but because you took Ike and Tina Turner, I'm going to count this one. So I'm going with Paul Simon of Simon and Garfunkel.
I was going to pick him next.
And, you have to have him on your list. For God's sakes, that's a great
my next pick.
Yep.
Well, yeah, but that's the only thing is like it's a duet. Is that a band?
Yep.
That I didn't know what.
Well,
your
that's
category
for
was.
sure.
He wasn't a solo artist, so it's
right.
He's
Absolutely.
very, very high on my list as well, Pete.
Graceland.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, I'm going to go to my next one, which is one that I'm wondering if you guys might have missed. This is a guy who you only really think of probably as a solo artist, but he was in a band that had a song that was in the Big Lebowski that we just did called The First Edition. They sang What Condition My Condition Was In, and do you know who that was? Kenny Rogers.
I didn't even know.
I didn't know that was him.
He was in The First Edition and went on to be one of the greatest country stars of all time.
Wow.
Gifford, that should have been in your wheelhouse.
Yeah, I know. I got him there.
Like you said, I didn't even realize that he was in a band before. Wow.
Yeah, not really country either.
Okay. Man, I've got some real good ones here. All right. Well, I'm going to go with the second name that I wrote down. I'm going to go with the Queen Bee. I'm going to go Beyonce coming out of Destiny's Child.
All right. My next pick, hey, Gifford, I'm coming after your Justin Timberlake with my next pick. I've got the Police. I'm going to Sting.
God dang it. That was the next one on my list.
Coming
see what I did there?
God dang it. Great pick.
All right, my next pick is another one that you probably don't really think about him coming from a band, and this is a guy again that I don't listen to a lot right now, but went through a giant phase for basically the whole '90s. I went back and found about this guy. So he was in a band called Them, and the big song was Gloria, Gloria, and that's
Yeah.
Van Morrison.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I love Van Morrison.
Shoot. Oh, my word. Oh, excuse me. All right. So my last pick. Oh, I got about 4 here that I'd like to take. Do I go with George?
Yeah, nobody's picked George Michael yet. I find that odd.
I know. And I love him. But as far as overall influence in a genre, I'm going Dr. Dre from NWA.
Fred's really trying to win this vote.
A lot of good stuff from the good doctor.
This is why he wins.
Oh, come on. You guys got great lists.
My last pick is, I've got a couple of good choices here, but one that I listen to more than any of the rest of them, or have listened to. I don't necessarily agree with him as a person over the course of the last few years, but I'm going with Eric Clapton from Cream.
Yeah, he was on
and the
my list
Yardbirds,
as well.
right?
Yeah, I had him on my list.
All right, I saved my last pick knowing that none of you would take him. He's my Justin Timberlake version, but I actually listened to all this guy's albums and love him, and that's Harry Styles. The guy fucking rocks.
Yeah, I didn't have Harry on my list. That's not my jam.
He is so good.
So, Brad, you have 4 of your 5 picks I did not have written down.
Oh, I know. I'm sure of that.
Yeah. Yeah. You got anything else, Brad?
I also didn't have Tina Turner, Justin Timberlake, Beyonce, or Dr. Dre because I don't really listen to any of them beyond like a song or two. So
really? Oh man. Okay.
I only pick people that I listen to exclusively.
Excellent. Pete, you got Brad, you got any extras?
Oh yeah. So those were kind of like the best ones there. Besides George Michael.
Nope.
This one is kind of different, but so Ben Folds I have down because it was first the Ben Folds 5, which was actually a 3-piece. But after that first album, they went on and I love Ben Folds. He's done a bunch of stuff individually. We talked about Amy Mann in the Big Lebowski episode. So she was until Tuesday singing Voices Carry, and I love her. She did the Magnolia soundtrack. Phil Collins is in Genesis, so is Peter Gabriel. That's another one.
Mm-hmm.
Belinda Carlisle from the Go-Go's, loved her. Glenn Frey, another Eagle. I could have put him on there.
I had Glenn Frey on mine.
Didn't listen to him as much as Don Henley. Ozzy Osbourne I don't listen to him a ton, but he has some great songs.
Mm-hmm.
I had him on mine.
Here's one you guys won't know. Jenny Lewis. She's an awesome, more indie type artist. She was in a band called Rilo Kiley. David Byrne from the Talking Heads. I love him. Billy Idol was in a band called Generation X first.
Yep.
Steve Perry from Journey. And finally, Lionel Richie from the Commodores.
That was my big one that I had left.
Yep, that was a big one I had left too. Pete, what else you got there?
Well, John Lennon, that we did discuss, but nobody actually officially announced him. I had Bruce Springsteen from the E Street Band.
Yeah, but that's his band.
Yeah, that's why I didn't pick it.
Yeah, that's like Tom Petty. I mean,
right. And
Tom Petty had albums that were just Tom Petty, but I didn't. No, I wouldn't put him on there.
Correct.
Yeah, I didn't.
Ricky Martin from Menudo.
There you go.
Oh wow.
Yep.
Yeah, that's pretty much the other big ones that I had. Lionel Richie, though, was you had mentioned him. He was my big one that didn't get picked.
That was a tough one to leave off the list for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I've got Lauryn Hill from the Fugees, John Fogerty from CCR, Darius Rucker, Hootie and the Blowfish.
Oh, that's a good one.
Gwen Stefani from No Doubt, Bobby Brown, new addition.
Oh,
you know we listen.
Now that
to
one
Bobby
I could
Brown.
totally be on board with because we all love Bobby Brown.
Absolutely. Of course, you got Miss Diana Ross from the Supremes. That was a tough one to leave off. And then the last one that I was having a hard time leaving off my list, and that would be Cher. Do you believe I left Cher off my list? There's a lot of great stuff from Cher. So
I see what you did there.
Yeah. So a lot of fun putting that list together, trying to come up with stuff. So again, please vote. Go to our socials when we put that one out, and we'll see who gets the votes on that one. So thanks, guys, for indulging for this album. It was awesome. So yeah.
Well done. That was fun. Hey, Gifford.
Yes, sir.
What band has you saying "I want your sex"?
Well, that is Preacher Row. Yes. And
I was thinking of the Bengals.
Oh. Hey,
well, I don't know
tomato. Yeah. To each their own.
No, you're right. It's Preacher Row.
Yeah. Well, thanks for listening, folks.
All right. Bye, everybody.
No one's here to comfort me. Sorry for what I have done. Sorry that your song is gone. 7 steps and it will be my last. Next time, tell me on my back. I turn it up to you. I'm scared, but there's nothing I can do.